involved. So for the chapter, let's look at how these realities affect the role of the modern diplomat. Start with group 1 and discuss diplomatic representation. Please differentiate raison de système and raison d'etat. Let's hear from Mary.
So for reason, reason that basically is an idea about the interest of the state being followed without any other external considerations. And on the other hand, raison system, it is an idea typically is which typically contrasts that of the raison d'etat. So for raison in the system, it basically is a belief that anything that a diplomat or state do, it should be in consideration of the other states or the system as a whole.
Okay, good. So to understand raison d'etat first, think of Machiavellianism. Okay? So raison d'etat simply notes that whatever is available for states to use, they must use as long as it advances their interest. That's Machiavellian. Okay? Moral considerations have no place in statecraft. Okay? Because what matters is the interest of the state, and within the interest of the state, you have, say, for example, survival. Okay? So moral considerations have no room for raison d'etat. In contrast, raison de système generally looks at what's good for everyone else. Okay? In this context, it's good to insert the IR theory of put forth by the English school. So the English school is somewhere in the middle of the IR theory spectrum. It's in the middle of liberalism. It's found in the middle of liberalism and constructivism. Okay? So the English school, particularly the pioneers, Henry Bull, argued that when we talk about international relations, there are two key concepts that must be considered. Namely, the international system and the international society. According to Henry Bull, the international system refers to the environment where states interact. That basic. Okay? This environment essentially involves the different relations and dynamics found among the relations of sovereign states. This international system is the very foundation of international relations. But while it's the very foundation of international relations, the English school argued that the international system should not be the end goal of IR. The end goal of IR instead should be the international society. What is an international society, and how does it differ from the international system? The difference lies on ideals, cooperation, and collective interest. An international society is one where we see different sovereign states working harmoniously for the welfare of the system. This welfare includes particularly peace and order. So the view of the English school is we can only achieve peace and order if we create an international society. Okay? So if we go back now to our topic this morning, in the context of diplomacy, the author is highlighting the dilemma in terms of whether diplomats should be focused on advancing their state interests, raison d'etat, or should they be more focused on advancing what's good for the system, raison d'etat. Okay? Because not always is what's good for the system, for the state, is also what's good for the system. Especially if we insert the great power dynamics in the picture. Diba? Because one can argue that if a state is a great power, the state wants to proliferate, to continue with the system, with the arrangement, even if that is at the detriment of other states. Diba? Great powers, from an IR perspective, imperialist perspective, tend to be exploitative of weaker powers. So if you're, say, a diplomat of a great power, should you continue pushing for the interest of your state, or should you also consider what's good for everyone else? On this line of thinking, we connect one of the blunders in foreign service, which is localitis or going native. On the in the third paragraph on page 176, localitis here is defined as diplomats being more sympathetic to the host country than to the sending government. This is considered as a capital sin for the career of any diplomat. This localitis, I would argue, is just but part of human nature. Diba? Imagine living abroad for years. You cannot most likely help but to appreciate, fall in love, and chances are to also develop a sense of sympathy and care in the country that you live in. Okay? So, to mitigate this, foreign service in different countries tend to limit the tenure of diplomats in foreign posts. On average, each foreign post will last 4 to 5 years, and then you will be transferred to another post. Let's use the case of the Philippines. For Philippine diplomats, after they serve time abroad, 4 to 5 years, Philippine diplomats are required to go back here in the Philippines, serve in the DFA for roughly 2 years before they are reassigned on another post abroad. Definitely a new post, not the same post as they were assigned before. So say you were stationed in Canada for 5 years. After 5 years, you go back to the Philippines, work at the DFA office for 2 years, and then after 2 years, that's the only time that you will be reconsidered for another foreign post abroad. The downtime here, which is about 2 years, is to make sure that you don't lose loyalty to the Philippines. Okay? But not all foreign services are like that. Say for example, if I'm not mistaken, in Japan, diplomats are allowed to move from one post to another right after one post. So if say a Japanese diplomat is assigned in Malaysia, after 4 or 5 years, the diplomat can go straight to the next post, say the Philippines. But the difference when it comes to Japanese foreign service is, after you pass the foreign service exam, you cannot be immediately sent to a foreign post abroad. You are required to work first in the Ministry of State Affairs for at least 5 years. So doon ka muna sa Tokyo for 5 years, kahit nabasa mo na yung foreign service. Then after that, 5 or even sometimes 10 years, that's when you get to be assigned abroad. Okay? In contrast to the Philippines, The moment na mapasok mo yung FSO, pwede ka ng, sipakin abroad. Okay? So, perhaps the strategy of Japan is to first build loyalty. And then once the loyalty is there, there's already a peace of mind that you can, move on the diplomat from one place to another. Okay? But in the Philippines, iba. So, bakit? I think because in the Philippines, iba kasi yung reality natin with Japan. Okay? Filipino diplomats have to deal with OFWs. Okay? Kaya nga, ang pinakamahirap na post, mga impyerno, okay, for Filipino diplomats, our countries with the most OFWs. Although hindi equal yun, no? Kasi pwede din naman na maraming OFW sa mga bansa, pero yung situation okay lang. So the hell among the hell is Middle East. Yun. Okay? So yan yung baptism of fire. Yung mga kakapasan ng middle ng foreign service, yung mga neophyte, I'm going to be a fancy diplomat now. Doon ka sa disyerto. Yan yun. Yan talaga yun. Okay? And just like in any work environment, seniority matters. So, patagal ka ng patagal sa service, paganda yung country na napupuntahan mo. So, yung mga Canada, Japan, yan, yung mga developed countries and countries we have good relations with, yan yung mga para sa mga matagal na sa service. Pero yung mga bata-bata pa, doon ka muna sa bombahan. Totoo nga! Walang joke. Okay? Doon ka talaga mapopost. In addition to the bombahan part ng Middle East, isa pang impyerno is China. Okay? Napakahirap ma-assign sa China. Okay? And of course, we also factor in yung how desirable the country is. Siyempre, ayaw mo namang ma-assign sa mga, di ba? Sa Muslim na bansa. Paano kung gusto mo ng baboy? Di ba? Wala kang baboy. Tapos mahilig kang uminom. Alcoholic murder ka. Pero na-assign ka sa Indonesia. Walang alak doon. So those also factor in. So yung mga gusto talaga ng mga diplomats, kasi pinagagawa nila, pinag-bid nila yan. Actually, hindi pala. Sa Pilipinas pa hindi siya pinibid. Elbowa. Padrino. Aside mo ako dyan, yun! Ganun sa Philippines. But in other countries, say like Japan, talagang merong formal bidding process. So diplomats would have to bid as to the country that they want to be assigned in. Okay? And good news, a lot of diplomats dream of being assigned in the Philippines. Lalo na yung mga Koreans at Japanese, ay naku, nagpapatayan niya mga yan para ma-assign sa Philippines. Ironic, right? Since most of us want to leave the country, oh wow. For Japanese diplomat to be assigned in the Philippines is among the most difficult most difficult to be assigned in. Kasi ang daming may gustong ma-assign sa Philippines. Why? First, wala kasi masyadong maraming trabaho dito. Kasi, hello! We love the Japanese and Koreans. Kung diplomat ka dito, ang gagawin mo lang is mag-golf. Magshala-shala sa mga business club. Oo. Tapos, ang mura-mura ng lahat. And really, because I know I have diplomat friends, like really, really close friends. I really talk to them. Why the hell do you like the Philippines? They keep on telling me it's nice. They love the Philippines. They want to retire here. Okay. Yeah. And they keep on saying that it's nice here. You have to also look at the Philippines from their lens. No? If you have money in the Philippines is heaven. And they do. Okay? Keep on joking, telling them, no, it's so dangerous here in the Philippines. You just walk and you can die. No, I feel safe here. I love it here. Paano siya be safe. Oo. Saan siya nakatira? Sa Rockwell. Sa Greenbelt. O, di ba na? BGC. Di ba? Ay, naku, impyerno dito. Ang hirap-hirap. Mayroon mag-commute. Ang pangit na transportation. O, paano naman sila affected? Naka-driver sila. Di ba? They don't try. Oh. Their reality is different from us. They love the Philippines. They love that the relations of the Philippines with their country, and really, no, the Philippines has generally good relations with a lot of countries. Parang China lang ata hindi natin bento. Pati nga Russians, mabait tayo kasi, Russia. Diba? Pati nga mga mga Afghan, welcome natin na refugee, diba? And diplomats love the Philippines because everyone speaks English. That's a big factor. Okay? Okay ka nga, sige. Compare ko yung Thailand sa Philippines. Mas maganda yung Thailand. Okay, mas marami pwedeng gawin. Mas malinis. But it's a struggle to live there if you don't speak the local language. Okay? In the Philippines, everyone at least understands English. And we're crazy about foreigners. Okay? So they like it here. Plus, for East Asian countries, the Philippines is so close to their country. 4 hours flight from Japan and Korea, that's heaven. E paano kung nasa sila sa Egypt? Ay, Diyos ko, 15 hours. So, sometimes we overlook what's nice about the Philippines. That's why I encourage you, if you can, talk to foreigners about the Philippines. And it's just refreshing to see the Philippines from another lens. Okay? I have diplomat friends, and I share their sentiments. As you know, I love the Philippines. Okay? More than a week outside the Philippines, I already miss it. I'm not as privileged as them, no? Kagabi nga nag-jeep ako eh. Yeah! I was like, oh my God! Nag-jeep ako! I was sure, ang tagal ko na di nag-jeep. And I haven't ridden angkas or any motorcycle ever. So, yun yung mga gusto ko pang gawin dito, pero I'm scared. So, nag-jeep kasi ako doon kasi I had a dinner in Intramuros. The dinner was 6:30, so I said, lapit lang naman. Maybe I'll just commute. I was thinking na mag-FX na lang siguro ako. Kasi ang mahal ng Grab, 300! Eh, dyan na ako nakatira, oh! And then, sige, mag-FX na lang ako. So, baba ako ng condo, 5:30. Hala, umuulan pala! Yung ulan na yun, bakit ka umuulan kahapon? Bakit ka ba umuulan buong araw kahapon nakakagigil? So, pag ko sinakanda, oh, it's drizzling. I said, no, I'm gonna book Grab. Nag-book ako 300. Tapos naghintay pa ako 20 minutes. Yung biyahe ko dito hanggang Intramuros sa 10 minutes. Napaka-privilege ko naman. 300 yung masahin ko. And then, so yeah, dinner yan. And after dinner around 9 o'clock, I was already trying to book a Grab. Wala akong mag-book kasi talaga sabi ng Grab, no cars. Oh my God. Maybe I'll just try to drive the jeepney. Actually, isip ko ba LRT nung una eh. Kaso, I feel unsafe walking there. So, arte no? Arte naman talaga. So, okay, so I walked outside Intramuros. But it's nice, I have my umbrella anyway, and it's just drizzling, so it really isn't wet. And then nag-jeep ako. Okay, ay bad trip ako dun sa jeep! Wala akong ginawa kundi magkapuntang barya! City Hall lang ako hanggang dyan sa pick-up pa! Napagod ako magkapot ng barya. Kasi mga inaabot ko, yung mga galing sa mga estudyante katulad nyo, gusto ko talaga sila sa puta. Diyos ko, napakarami ko talaga inabot! Sabi ko, ano ba ito? Ako ba yung asawa ng driver? Ano ka? Parang tinabi ko ba naman, oh, malulog dun sa dulo. ako. Nung una nag-alcohol pa ako after mag-abot. Ay, nung mga mahal, hindi ako mag-alcohol. May susunod pa, buwis hell. Grabe. But it was comfy. I mean, the gym, hindi naman sobrang sigit ng gym, no? And, yeah, okay naman. I'm so happy, so proud. Nakatipid ako ng almost 280 pesos. Kasi yung barbecue makabot na makabot. Kaya pala siksikan lahat sila dun sa may Sa dulo. Ano I've done? Sabi ko, okay, because I don't want to be crowded. Ito ang pinakabot, bad trip. Kaloka. Tapos yung inaabot ko pa yung barya dun sa jeepney driver, hindi ko pa maiwasang makita yung kuya, hindi ko lahat. Nakita niyo lahat! Kaya ano, wala ang pahal ba? Hindi mo na ako sobrang privilege, but you know, I love it here. Okay, I know, inconvenient talaga dito. Kaya nga, ano yan, after ng class natin, uwi na ako. Mag-uundas break na ako. Hindi na ako nakakausap. Wala talaga akong balak na mag-reply kahit kanina sa inyo. Kasi gusto ko na magpahinga. But it's always refreshing to talk to foreigners. Okay? And it saddens me that a lot of Filipinos don't appreciate the Philippines. Magigil ako dun sa mga tao na ang galing-galing mag-backstab ng Philippines kasi gina-justify na gusto nila makaarap ng foreigner na jojowain. Sabi ko, malandi ka. Huwag mo nang i-backstab yung Philippines. Sabihin mo na lang na gusto kong maghanap ng jowa, asawang pogi, para blue-eyed yung anak ko. Okay lang naman yun. Hindi yung itadami pa na, Pilipinas, kaya ako, gusto ko talaga. Tapos paawa mo pa sa linya na jowa mo. Baby, Makati ka lang eh. Hindi ko na lang, hindi ko lang. Ano naman masama doon? Gusto ko yung foreigner, paano maganda yung anak ko kahit ako pangit ko? Okay na yun. Diba? Okay na backstab yung Philippines. If it's hell for you, well, it's not the worst country to be in. That's always my argument. Okay? And yes, there's so many wrong things about the Philippines. But if we keep on fixating what's wrong with it, we tend to be inhibited in doing something to change what's bad about it. Pero talagang hirap-hirap talaga dito. Sumanap na lang kayo ng jojowahin na, no? And kung meron na kayo jowa, tanong nyo din sila. If whenever you meet a foreigner, ask the foreigner about their country. Trust me, you will also hear negative things about their country. Okay? When I was in Europe, I talked to French people, to Spanish people, and yeah, they are dissatisfied with their government. Who doesn't? I think it's just part of human nature that we fixate on what's wrong and overlook what's actually okay and good. Pero ano tayo makakapag-angkas? Hindi ko alam yung protocol. So,
Sir, basta wag lang ulan.
sabi ko sa kakaman ng minsan, kasi I have a meeting somewhere. Baka nag-aangkos na ako. Sabi ba naman niya, hindi mag-grab ka ako nang magbabayad. Sabi ko, hindi naman ako gano'ng kahirap, no? Afford ko naman. Pero nag-ganon ako, nag-aangkas ako sa Vietnam. Kasi ang dami, wala kasi option doon, di ba? Ang dami ko motor. Pero ako nag-aangkas. That's my first time to ride a motorcycle. That's just last week. I ride motorcycles in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh. Pero dito kasi parang feeling ko, yung kaluluwa ako maiiwan. Sa Bangkok, ba? No. Hindi pa ako motorcycles. Pero dito, hindi muna. Feeling ko may jeep naman na alternative. Saka, hindi kasi ako marunong mag-motorcycle. Kaya kayo mag-ingat-ingat kayo ha. Kasi na-amaze ako sa mga estudyante, ang galing-galing mag-commute, street smart. Although minsan may mga syunga na nadudungkutan na lang kasi text ng text para kang syunga. Okay, naglalakad na awak-awak yung mga cellphone nyo, nagigigil ako sa mga yun. Akala mo, makapagbil ka nasa Akala mo nasa mall. Ay, In my defense, hindi pa ako na-called up whatsoever dito sa mundo. Okay. Hindi ako sure. Maarte lang ako, pero hindi ako sure. Okay. Tsaka mas gusto ko, actually favorite ko talaga nagtitrend. Kasi ang bilis. Although yung mga trend natin, sige. Ba tayo? Bakit ang daming absent today? Nag-conduct break room sila. Bakit meron ba kayong class? Meron ko ba kayong class na? Talaga? Ha?
Sabi rin ng ano kasi parang nagkaka-anxiety na daw yung mga teachers dahil mas parang ano ba sa suspension.
Anxiety. O di okay! Wala akong masyadong tayo magturo. Minsan talaga yung mga bida-bida. Ang sarap batukan eh. Anxiety mga teachers. Ayoko na magklase, hindi ako magklase this week, wala naman mag-online. Bakit di mag-online pa ba sa inyo? Sa Thursday? Oo. Ay! Why? Maluwa ka. Di ba tapos yung UST, nakita niyo ba? November 5 ba yung resumption ng class nila? Parang magdadasal pa sila sa cemetery ng ano? Monday, Tuesday. Ano tayo? Dito na November 3 at 4.
Enough na daw po yung ano, 2 to 3 days na
Yung
na holiday break. Sabi ko sa akin.
Ang enough na yun. Hindi enough sa akin yun kasi simulan ko yung aking mamaya. Kung face-to-face natin, hindi ko na tayo kayo minute ng Monday, Tuesday ngayon eh. Kasi talaga ako nagkaklase ng ano, on the week. Free on the week. Parang sa ano, Halloween week na. Halloween week na kasi ito. So siguro. Klase, huwag niyo na akong message ngayong week na ito kasi hindi ko kagaya-reply. Okay, godfather. So, yung mga pictures. Gusto mo nang magturo, gusto namin tayo kung i-cover, gusto mo nang mag-check. Ayoko! Ayoko. Sige, tapusin na natin ito para mag-contest break na. Uwi na ako ngayon kasi traffic na soon. So, ayoko mag-stop sa traffic. Meron pa nga ako dapat meeting with British Embassy. Bukas daw. Ay, sabi ko kayo unavailable. Ano kung makibuyan ng traffic mo? I'm unavailable. RT. Sabi ko, I already had another meeting, I did that time. Pero sa totoo, naglalaro na kasi ako niyan. Sa kanya, huwag kayong istorbo. Next time na, kung mga British na to, hindi nyo na-respetuhin yung undas. Okay. Ano tayo? Gusto tayo sa grupo? Hindi, parang Diplo mas pa. Oh. Okay. So let's make this quick. So now, what's the prescription of the author in terms of balancing raison d'existence and raison d'etat? The answer is prudence. Okay? Prudence, paragraph under box 10.1, page 177, refers to the capacity to judge what action is appropriate to pursue in a particular context. Okay? And how can a diplomat exercise prudence? There are 3 ways noted here. First is through consensus, followed by taking responsibility for any actions made, as well as exemplifying reasonableness. So reasonableness on page 178 is defined as the ability to reach out to the other side, to stay open to its agreement, and to seek a shared solution in support of the international order. This can be done mainly through negotiations. Now, paradiplomacy. Paradiplomacy is defined on page 178 as non-central government's involvement in international relations through the establishment of permanent or ad hoc contacts with foreign public or private entities, with the aim to promote socio-economic or cultural issues, as well as many other foreign dimensions of their constitutional competencies. Okay, So let's simplify what's para-diplomacy. Diplomacy, in principle, is a practice that falls under the responsibility of the executive branch. In the Philippine context, if we look at the Constitution, the Philippine Constitution, it was clearly stipulated in the Constitution that only the President, the executive branch, is allowed to engage in diplomacy. Okay? So the President's responsibility extends to the Department of Foreign Affairs. But while the Constitution notes that it is the responsibility of the President to engage in diplomacy, reality speaks differently as subnational actors also engage in diplomacy. When we say subnational actors, what we mean here are local governments. In the Philippines, we have provincial governments as well as city/municipal governments. Okay? So, for example, the city of Manila can engage in diplomatic activity mainly through partnerships with foreign counterparts. In the discipline, this is what we call as sister city partnerships. Okay? So, a city within a country can form a partnership with another city in another country. Usually, these partnerships are anchored on socio-economic reasons, cultural exchanges, language, educational scholarships, yung mga yon. But an aspect of sister city partnership is that it is a form of para-diplomacy that circumvents the authority of the national government to solely conduct diplomatic activities. Presently, this can be problematic, especially when local governments engage in activities that may be against the foreign policy of the national government. To some extent, today, para-diplomacy, sister city partnerships are cautioned mainly because of national security issues. I work on foreign interference research, particularly Chinese foreign interference research in the Philippines. And we found out that China is using sister city partnerships to penetrate foreign states. Okay? In the United States, for example, reports from the FBI show that China uses Chinese sister city partnerships with US states in order to influence local officials. Imagine China inviting you as the governor to go to China for a 1-week tour, all expense paid in 5-star hotels, everything for free. So when you go to China, you can expect that you would attend discussions wherein you will hear Chinese narratives. The hope of China is, through such partnerships and exposures, governors, American governors, will be pro-China and will benefit China once these governors finally become federal congressmen or senators. Because that's the track, the background of senators and congressmen. Before they are elected in a foreign federal post, they serve as mayors or governors in their states. Okay? In the case of the Philippines, this is also what we caution about. Because evidently, there are a lot of sister city partnerships between Philippine cities and Chinese cities. And what's problematic about sister city partnership? Because generally, sister city partnerships are not really banned. Okay, is what makes them problematic is there's only minimal monitoring. 2 years ago, when we started a project looking at sister cities through Ateneo, we reached out to the Department of Interior and Local Government because the DILG in 1997 released a memo allowing local governments to engage in sister city partnerships. Okay? So you have the constitution saying that diplomacy is solely exercised by the president, but then you have the DILG memorandum that allows governments to engage in sister city partnerships. You know, in the defense of the Philippine government, other countries also allow sister city partnerships. Okay? So in 2023, when we did the project, I reached out to the Department of Interior and Local Government, asking them for a copy of the list of sister city partnerships of Filipino cities with Chinese counterparts. Wow. It turns out the DILG has no comprehensive list. So we threw caution about this because we cannot help see an entry point here of Chinese influence. So after the project, a year after, the DILG banned sister city partnerships. But early this year, the DILG allowed sister city partnerships to continue, but only after the agreement is examined by the DILG, the DFA, the DND, and other agencies. Okay? So we argue in our reading, in our report, actually, yeah, we completed our report last month, the second part of our study, that sister city partnerships expose the Philippines at the local level. And we see this. There are certain mayors, certain governors that are very much pro-China and have visited China multiple times. So when the Philippine government announced that there will be additional EDCA sites, you see these governors speaking against these EDCA sites. Okay? So Australia also has reported cases of local states. Darwin, I think, was scrutinized by the federal government because of close partnership with Chinese local officials as well. Okay. In the past years, there are one or two groups that were proposing thesis on paradiplomacy. Paradiplomacy is interesting, but I strongly discourage you if you want to pursue research about it because data is difficult. I know I'm doing this research, and our team already has a lot of connections to the government. We're under Ateneo, and still we struggle to get data. How much more for students like you? Okay? And to be transparent, yeah, the study that we conduct is funded by America. So, transparent tayo, okay? But the line of America is, it's for democracy. And totoo naman. So, I do the project not because I'm pro-America, but I'm pro-democracy. I don't like Filipinos simply being manipulated by any foreign power. Okay? And, yeah, it works. You know, the sad part though is, I cannot go to China. Wala. Hindi pa naman ako nag-Hong Kong ever. Hindi pa ako nag-Macau. Hindi pa ako nag-China. So, hindi. Paano ba naman last year? Early this year nga, balitaan niyo ba yun? Yung inulit 4 na Pilipino na spy daw. Oo, Filipino spies daw in China, surveilling different military bases. But those four Filipinos were former sister city scholars between Palawan and Shenzhen. Ahaynan pala. Diba? So, scholar ka doon, tapos biglang spy ka na. So, kumamit pa daw.
Wow.
We are spies. Ganyan, sabi ng Chinese news. They are spies working for the Philippine Intelligence Agency. May intelligence ba tayo? Grabe ako, diba? May FBI naman tayo. Pero there's no such thing as Philippine Intelligence Agency. Hindi mo CI. Diba? Parang ganun. So, okay. Yeah, alam ko natin doon ko rin ginagawa yung China. Kahit na mag-connecting flight sa China na. Last year nga, naka-receive yung department ng invite from Confucius Institute. From Ateneo Confucius Institute. Inviting faculty members to join a Confucius tour in Beijing. Invite ako ni Abby. Sabi niya, Jules, baka gusto mong pumunta since you're working on China research. Sabi ko, Agnes, hindi ako makakauwi dito. After ko mag-tour sa ako, hindi ako makakauwi. Baka nasa headline na ako, professor, spy. So, hindi, nagpunta ko. Kasi, sabi nila, ang pinadala is Sir Wayne at saka si Dr. Tapos nagano daw sila, nag-tour daw sila sa Great Wall, tapos nakakain daw sila ng maraming Chinese food, na libre. Tapos ako, oo, hindi na ako-excited ko nila kasi when, that date na tour nila, nasa Kuala Lumpur, Singapore naman ako on my own tour. Pero tanggap ko na ako makapadala sa China. Pero okay lang. Makapunta naman ako sa Washington DC next. You balance things out, di ba? yung friend ko ng radical, punta siya ng Russia, nag-tour siya sa Kremlin, dun sa mga Leninist Museum, ganyan. Kasi nga radical din. Tapos nag-apply siyang US visa pag-uwi niya. Malamang! Ano kasi ginawa ko sa Russia, di ba? Sa Moscow, may picture pa siya. Ito ang mga Leninist, ganyan. Oh, nice. Pag-uwi niya dito, nag-apply siya. US visa. Deny. Ano kasi ginawa niya? Nag-mince pa. Ang tawag ko nga sa tour niya is communism tour. Ginawa niya, lahat talaga ng mga komunista, dinano niya. Anyway, nakapunta naman din kasi siya sa Russia kasi may sponsorship letter siya ng Communist Party of the Philippines. So, easy visa for him. Yun. Siya makapunta na naman. So, ganun, no? Lesson learned, you be careful about what you put out there. Okay? Diba? Ako, I speak up against China. So the consequence is, bye-bye, Hong Kong. Okay? But the positive side is, I favor this one side over another. Ganun din kayo, no? Okay, pangatawanan niyo yan, ha? Kung talagang, ay, galit ako sa Amerika! Ganon. Talagang pangatawanan niyo, no? Na, yung mga apak, lumayo, okay? So, and really, what you put out there affects your visa chances. But I'm happy. I don't regret that I speak out against China because it's really an advocacy that I'm okay with. Okay? And I'm not really, pro-America, but I'm still very much pro-Philippines, and I just do acknowledge that we need alliances to counter China. Okay? Natin i-risk na mag-China ako. Gusto mo kapag natitig ako doon, tumitium ako, diba? Kasi okay po! Pro-China na, okay na! Ito po, gusto mo estudyante ko, tapos gawin niyo, isama niyo po sa payroll niyo. Hindi natin mas happy kasi hindi rin ako sure sa integrity ko eh. So talagang natin i-risk, di ba? Maging mag-peace ako ng China, pag-uwi bigla, di ba? Kasi offer pa ako pro-China ka, sige po. Hirap na eh. So, yan yung baka mabenta ko yung kaluluwa ko pag bigyan ng chance. So, hindi na. Pero kasi ang dami kasi gano'n. Those that study in China, and then eventually, evidently, become mouthpiece of China. Ayoko naman yun. Pero hindi, meron ding risk naman din talaga na ikukulong na lang ako. Hindi na ako offeran na maging mouthpiece. Dami kong mga pinagsusulat against China, tanggap ko na. Wala na, tanggap ko sa China. Madala pa ako sa mga concentration camps doon. Kasama ko yung mga Uyghur.
Oh my God!
And no. Hindi sana kung yung kulong doon may due process, di ba? Eh wala. Di ba yan? Di mo. Sige. Yeah, but that's the thing about paradiplomacy. We increasingly see the rise of non-central governments in terms of being involved with paradiplomacy. And while our team throw cautions against paradiplomacy, we also do acknowledge that there are benefits to it. If, say, in the case of the Philippines, there are provinces here that became closer with China because China invests in their provinces. And in practical terms, these investments provide jobs and infrastructure for these poor provinces. So in the end, it's actually the shortcoming of the national government that perhaps drives these local governments to look for other resources outside the Philippines. Okay? Hindi naman din natin pwede sabihin na talagang malicious lang din ang mga local governments. What if they're just really thinking about what's best for their people? Okay? So yeah, we don't push for banning sister city partnerships, but simply monitoring and regulation. So we can balance both the benefits and also mitigate the harmful consequences of such agreements. Okay? So next, diplomacy and power. Bisa na natin. Play to three. Nandun na ako. Starting the spring. Huwag natin pakabahin. Okay, now, this subsection starts by noting how there is a dilemma, a paradox, when it comes to diplomatic work. Diplomats work very closely with powerful individuals, but not always are they the one exercising such power. Okay? Diplomats evidently cannot speak about their own opinion. If you talk to diplomats, you would notice that, yeah, they're so diplomatic. Kaya minsan push up sa mga diplomat na kausap ko eh. Kasi masyado mabagit. Ay, you always say good things. Say bad things. But they don't. Right? For example, I asked one diplomat who was posted in Algeria. I asked the diplomat, so how would you characterize the relations between Algeria and France? Because they were former colonies. And then the diplomat answered, I would say it's a tense relation. May na-expect ko sagot, they hate each other. Yun yung na-expect ko sagot, tulog ang diplomat na to. Wow, sabi ko sa kanya, wow, nice way to cushion the blow. Sugar coating. So tumawa na siya. Yes, because you know, we don't have very good relations. Ang diplomat talaga, mabait eh. Kaya ako talaga. Never talaga nag-cross utak ko maging diplomat. Mukha ba akong may pakialam sa iba? Oh, itong personality na to, maganda to ng kahihiyan sa Pilipinas. Be respect and honor. So, if you want to be diplomats, no, you have to accept that everything that you do will reflect our country. If you can't take the risk, huwag ka na munepan. You have to be cultured, you have to be prim and proper. You must hold back your beliefs. You cannot simply speak out against your country. Okay? And generally, you just have to be nice. Okay? So if you are evil by nature, you have to suppress your evil side because that's not for diplomats. Okay? Diplomats talaga, napakababait. Eh, minsan kita pa naman ang pag-uusap ko mga mabait na tao. Ah, yes. Sabi kong ngiti ng ngiti, yung parang ang saya ng buhay. So, yung ano, yung realistic. Yes. Yeah. Go for for foreign service to ang daming pera. Pero I heard recently that foreign DFA is limiting foreign posts. So even if you pass the FSO, parang ano na din, 5 years, more than 5 years ka muna daw dito. Bago ka ipadala abroad. Kasi kung pinadala ka abroad, sobrang laki ng gastos ng Philippine government. Actually, lahat ng diplomat abroad, pinagagastusan niya. Okay? Ang sweldo mo na is hindi na peso, dollar. And the Philippine government will dress you up. Kasi hindi pwedeng kalad-kalad ng itsura mo abroad. You have to live in neighborhoods that are upper class. That's the privilege of diplomat. Okay? So ngayon, na medyo limited ng pera ng gobyerno, nililimit na nila yung mga foreign posts. That's why Donald Trump, when Trump assumed with the position earlier this year, he closed a lot of consular offices abroad. He reduced the number of foreign diplomats of America. Kasi ang laki-laki ng gastos ng Amerika sa kanila. And for what? Ano ba nakukuha ng Amerika? Ano ba nagdadala nila for America? O baka naman sarap buhay lang sa inyong sila nagtatrabaho. Right? So, what are now the available leverages for diplomats? Tatlo to na ninote dito, hard power, soft power, and smart power. So hard power, and if you know this includes the use of population, territory, natural resources, military forces, and economic size to leverage during negotiations. So this is very much realist. Page 180, last paragraph, second to the last paragraph. Morgenthau argued that diplomats must assess the power and objective of other nations, compare them with their own, determine conditions of compatibility, and then deploy appropriate means. This is also where we see coercive diplomacy, which is forceful persuasion. But the success of coercive diplomacy depends on 4 factors argued in box 10.2, page 181. There is, of course, soft power, which refers to the power of attraction. At dami-dami ng studies about soft power. Students usually propose research on soft power, but it's already widely explored, so I don't encourage you as well. So what are the sources of soft power on page 10 box 10.3? Have government, culture, global engagement, education, enterprise, and the digital. You can check online the ranking of countries in terms of the top countries with soft power. Top, I think right now is the United States. But along with the United States, you also have France, Japan, and the picture. Within the top 20, walang Southeast Asia. Southeast Asian country. Now, for under soft power, we have public diplomacy, advancing the interests of those being represented by direct relations with another country's public. There is also the last facet of power, which is smart power. Now, smart power, sinasabi dito, page 183, last paragraph, is to balance both hard and soft power. Okay? Now, so I think that's about it for diplomacy and power. Next meeting, we start with diplomatic recruitment and training, and then end with the future, end with digital diplomacy. Okay? So, please start preparing for your FA. The due date of your FA for your biographical sketch is on Thursday next week. you present it online on November 2.
Ano na lang guys, standby na lang for further notice of
Concerns, questions?
let's review ano your suggestions.
Yes.
Paul. Yeah. Ano na lang, dati mo na kayo mga suggestions yung mga person. Para din na. Wala mag-meeting. Para nagkano
We can leave it here.
Just
Just make sure that it contributes substantially. So you
standby na
can
lang by this week.
compensate for your. Sige, we go. Thank you.